Single dad saw his first love at parent-teacher night, not knowing she was a CEO falling again. He almost didn't go that night. The school parking lot was overflowing with polished cars and confident parents in tailored coats, and Daniel sat in his 10-year-old sedan with the engine off, staring at the glowing windows of the elementary school. His hands were rough from overtime shifts, his shirt wrinkled from a double day at work, and exhaustion clung to him like a second skin. Parent-teacher night was supposed to be simple. Just smile, listen, nod, promise to help with homework. But for Daniel, even walking into that building felt like walking into a world that had moved on without him. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and love that finds its way back when you least expect it, take a moment to like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel. Stories like this remind us that life can surprise us when we're brave enough to show up. Daniel finally stepped out of the car. He wasn't afraid of judgment, he had learned to swallow that long ago. He was afraid of being reminded of what he used to be. Before the hospital bills, before the funeral, before becoming both father and mother to a little girl who deserved the world. Inside the hallway, colorful drawings lined the walls. Crayon suns, crooked houses, stick figure families holding hands. He paused in front of one labeled, "My Family." It showed a tall man with tired eyes and a little girl with a giant smile. No mother. No empty space. Just the two of them. Daniel felt a sting behind his eyes but forced himself forward. And then he saw her. At first, it was just a silhouette at the end of the corridor, framed by the classroom doorway. The same graceful posture. The same quiet intensity in the way she listened to the teacher. When she turned slightly, the light caught her face, and the years dissolved like dust in the wind. Sophia. His first love. His almost everything. The girl who once believed in him more than he believed in himself. For a moment, Daniel thought he was imagining it. Life didn't work like that. First loves didn't reappear in elementary school hallways, dressed in elegant simplicity, wearing a watch that probably cost more than his monthly rent. But it was her. The same deep brown eyes, now steadier. The same soft curve of a smile, now more guarded. She saw him at the exact moment he realized it was truly her. Shock flickered across her face, followed by something warmer. Something that felt dangerously familiar. Time had been cruel to Daniel in ways it hadn't been to her. He could see it immediately. She looked composed, successful, confident. He felt like a reminder of a chapter she had outgrown. Years ago, they had sat on a college rooftop, sharing dreams bigger than their circumstances. Daniel wanted to start his own construction company, build homes for families who couldn't afford luxury. Sophia wanted to change the corporate world, to lead with empathy instead of greed. They had planned a future that involved struggle, but together. Then life happened. Daniel's father got sick. Tuition became impossible. Pride forced him to drop out quietly. He never told Sophia how desperate things had become. He didn't want to be the weight holding her back. By the time she found out, it was too late. He had already distanced himself, convinced that loving her meant letting her go. She moved to another city after graduation. He heard through mutual friends that she was rising fast in the business world. Then he met Laura, married quickly, and for a few short years, life felt steady. Until illness returned like a cruel echo and took his wife away, leaving him with a 3-year-old daughter and a grief too heavy to measure. Now, standing in that school hallway, Daniel felt every unfinished word between him and Sophia pressing against his chest. But before he could turn away, a small hand slipped into his. "Daddy," his daughter whispered, her voice bright and unaware of history. "That's Ava's mom." Daniel's heart skipped. Ava. His daughter Lily's new best friend. The girl who shared crayons and secrets and half-eaten cookies at lunch. Sophia walked toward them slowly, as if approaching something fragile. There was no arrogance in her steps. No sign that she was the CEO of one of the fastest-growing tech companies in the region, a name that appeared in business magazines and conference headlines. Daniel would only learn that later. In that moment, she was just the girl he once loved. They didn't embrace. They didn't speak much. They simply stood there, absorbing the weight of years. The teacher called them inside. Lily tugged him forward, unaware that her small hand was pulling her father into a moment that would quietly reshape his life. The classroom was bright and welcoming. Paper lanterns hung from the ceiling, and desks were arranged in clusters. Sophia sat beside Daniel because their daughters insisted on sitting together. It felt surreal. Their elbows almost touched. As the teacher spoke about reading levels and math improvements, Daniel stole glances at Sophia. She took notes carefully, asking thoughtful questions about Ava's social development, her confidence, her creativity. She wasn't distracted. She wasn't checking emails. She was fully present. It unsettled him. After the session ended, parents filtered out into the hallway. Lily and Ava ran ahead toward the art display, leaving Daniel and Sophia alone. She was the first to speak. Her voice was calm but threaded with emotion that hadn't faded. She told him she had moved back to the city a year ago to expand her company's headquarters. She mentioned long hours, responsibility, the pressure of leading thousands of employees. She didn't boast. If anything, she sounded tired in a different way than he was. Daniel told her about Lily. About losing Laura. About construction contracts that barely covered expenses. About nights spent helping with homework after 12-hour shifts. There was no pity in Sophia's eyes. Only respect. As they walked toward the parking lot, Ava asked if Lily could come over for a playdate. Sophia hesitated just a second before agreeing. Daniel did too. It felt like opening a door he wasn't sure he was strong enough to walk through again. The first playdate was awkward for him. Sophia's home was modern and expansive, all glass walls and quiet luxury. He felt out of place in his worn boots. But Sophia didn't make him feel small. She made coffee herself instead of calling for help. She asked about his projects. She listened. Over the following weeks, playdates became routine. Then school pickups overlapped. Then coffee turned into longer conversations. Daniel learned that Sophia had built her company from nothing after facing skepticism at every turn. Investors who doubted her because she was young. Board members who questioned her empathy-driven approach. She had fought for flexible work policies, mental health resources, scholarships for employees' children. He realized she hadn't abandoned her college dreams. She had expanded them. But beneath her success, he sensed loneliness. Ava's father had left before she was born, unable to handle the intensity of Sophia's ambition. She had raised her daughter mostly on her own, balancing board meetings with bedtime stories. They were both single parents navigating a world that judged them in different ways. Yet Daniel kept his guard up. He couldn't shake the fear that he was a temporary chapter in her polished life, that eventually she would remember who he used to be and realize he no longer fit. One evening, Lily came home from school quieter than usual. She admitted that some kids had teased her about her old backpack and worn sneakers. Daniel felt a familiar sting of helplessness. He was doing everything he could, but sometimes it never felt like enough. Sophia noticed the shift immediately. She didn't offer money. She didn't offer solutions wrapped in superiority. Instead, she invited Lily and Ava to help organize a small school fundraiser for new art supplies, framing it as a community project rather than charity. Daniel watched as Sophia used her influence subtly, encouraging other parents to contribute without making it about any one child. The fundraiser succeeded beyond expectations. New supplies filled the classroom. No one knew why it had started. That night, Daniel sat in his car outside her house, overwhelmed. He wasn't used to someone standing beside him instead of above him. Slowly, something inside him softened. They began sharing pieces of the past they had never explained. Daniel confessed why he had pulled away years ago, the pride that had convinced him he was protecting her from his struggles. Sophia admitted how abandoned she had felt, how she had interpreted his silence as rejection rather than sacrifice. The misunderstanding that had once seemed insurmountable now felt heartbreakingly simple. One rainy evening, after the girls had fallen asleep during a movie night, Daniel and Sophia sat on opposite ends of the couch, the sound of rain filling the quiet space between them. He realized he wasn't intimidated by her success anymore. He was inspired by it. And she wasn't looking at him like a project to fix. She was looking at him like a man who had endured and kept loving anyway. The real challenge wasn't money or status. It was fear. Fear of repeating old mistakes. Fear of blending two fragile families. Fear of trusting happiness again. But life had already taught them that certainty was an illusion. Months passed. Their connection deepened not through grand gestures but through small, consistent acts of care. Shared school events. Late-night conversations about parenting. Encouraging each other's ambitions. Daniel eventually gathered the courage to propose expanding his small construction work into a community-focused renovation business. Sophia didn't hand him a check. She connected him with mentors, helped him refine a business plan, pushed him to believe he deserved growth. For the first time in years, he felt seen not as a struggling widower, but as a capable man with dreams still worth chasing. And Sophia, despite board meetings and headlines, found herself looking forward to simple evenings filled with laughter and spilled popcorn. Daniel grounded her in a way success never could. If this story has touched your heart so far, take a moment to share it with someone who needs to believe that love can return stronger. Comment below if you've ever experienced a second chance you didn't expect. Before we reach the end, I have one special request. Comment the word hope if you believe the right person can come back into your life at the right time. The night Daniel officially asked Sophia to take a real step forward, it wasn't in a restaurant or at a gala. It was in the same school parking lot where he had once sat doubting himself. The building lights glowed behind them as their daughters laughed in the back seat, arguing about a science project. He told her he didn't have grand promises. He had responsibilities, flaws, and a heart that had been broken more than once. But he also had loyalty, resilience, and love that had survived loss. Sophia didn't need extravagance. She had seen the world at its most polished. What she wanted was authenticity. She chose him not despite his struggles, but because of how he had faced them. In the months that followed, their families blended gently. Not perfectly, but honestly. There were hard days. There were adjustments. But there was also laughter that filled spaces once occupied by grief. Daniel's business began to grow. Sophia continued leading with compassion. And their daughters thrived, witnessing a love built not on convenience but on courage. The boy who once stepped aside out of pride had become a man brave enough to stay. And the girl who once chased ambition alone had found that success felt sweeter when shared. Sometimes life doesn't give you the fairy tale at 20. Sometimes it waits until you've earned the wisdom to appreciate it. If this story moved you even a little, please like, comment, and share this video. Your engagement helps stories of hope and second chances reach more hearts around the world. Because sometimes, all it takes is showing up on an ordinary night to find the love that was never truly lost.